Do you know what? Out of 160 medical schools, something like that, I can't remember, 145 medical schools, only 6 of them have a department of geriatrics. Every one of them has a department of pediatrics. We are not training geriatricians. We are not training academic geriatricians. Is there something your government can do about this? You better believe there is. The nursing shortage, the home health care. Not everybody's going to be suited to go to a nursing home. Nursing homes are appropriate for some people, but more than likely the majority of aging people in this country want to age at home. We're training less and less home health care givers, and we're restricting more and more the ability to get into homes, to have the proper health care givers. These are things that American families' lives are wrapped around. Educating their children, knowing how competitive this world is, not just the U.S. My kids aren't just competing with kids across the county line anymore. Our kids know that their competition is global, and it's a race. I don't know about you all, 5th grade homework is about to kill me. Our teachers understand it. But if we don't give our families the time to reinforce to their children how important those studies are. You know, the kings of Mali, the trade center of Mali, my kids were looking at me and they were saying, Mom, why is this important? And I said, one day it will be. That's what my mama said. One day it will be. But then I thought to myself, this is a global community. Understanding the history of West Africa, the trade routes, how important is that? It's real important to understanding the global world. If there's anything I learned as a farmer's daughter, it is how important it is to be a good neighbor. That's another aspect. How many times has your neighbor here in Washington or Virginia or Maryland changed? I had the same neighbor my entire life, and it was the same neighbors my parents had. Those neighbors are changing. You know, when you talk about education and you want education to be good, my husband and I had this discussion when our kids started school. It's not just that we want our kids to be smart and we want our kids to do well, but when our kids grow up, how important is their work surrounding? How important is it that the people that they are surrounded by, that they work with, that they are challenged by, are smart people? I am so blessed, as I've said, to have this incredible office where I'm surrounded by wonderful people who are smart and intelligent and anxious to do things. I want my children to be surrounded by those same people. And that means making sure not just that my kids are well educated, but that the other kids in their grade and in their generation are going to be equally as challenged and equally as educated. One of the things I did want to bring up was safety. My world is so different. I mean, I look at Halloween. My mother used to send us out. There was about, 15 kids in the neighborhood, and we'd all meet at the driveway, and our mothers would say, okay, we'll see you in 5 hours. Big kids take care of the little kids. So many things that we think about in terms of the safety of our children. The Missing and Exploited Children's Caucus, which I helped to start here, recognizes that our world is different and that we do want to protect our children. Whether it's the abduction that occurs, making sure that those who can be helpful, there's some incredible technologies that are out there. We need to advance those. We need to give tools to industry that are willing to participate in those. Code Atom, the Qualcomm system in the trucking industry, now that we've got more than 9,000 pair of eyes out there helping our law enforcement at truck stops now to recognize if there are children that have been abducted, which is one of the more likely places where they will end up, is stopping at a truck stop. Internet safety. It's amazing what they can find on the internet. And it's something that you have to realize. When my grandfather used to take me down to Main Street every Saturday so I could buy my 45 record, that was Main Street. Today's Main Street is in your living room. It's your computer. There are things on there that can be dangerous. And if we don't provide, as a government, the kind of guidelines that ensure not that we lose the great benefits, but there are also some dangerous portholes there. And we have to do a better job at making sure that they are less likely to access them. And that's why I introduced my Internet Safety Bill, to make sure that the pornography that exists, the things that are not age appropriate, that should only be age appropriate, that we're using the tools that we have. We can card people on the internet if they're buying tobacco products or alcoholic products. Why don't we do it when they're buying pornographic material or inappropriate material? Making sure that we are applying the proof of age and using the tools that we have just simply makes sense. There's a million other things that I can talk about. Better pay for their parents definitely equates to more time that they can spend with their children if they so choose, and I hope that they will, because I got to tell you, you learn a lot. You figure out the friends that have the potty mouth. You figure out the friends that have the older brothers that know where everything is on the internet. You learn those kind of things. You learn those kind of things about your children's friends. And it's important because then when you have time and you sit down at the dinner table, you can talk about those things. But more importantly, you get to spend time with your children. And they get to show you off to their friends, to their teachers, and to say, I got somebody at home that cares who I am and who I become. And that makes a world of difference for them. And I just think all of those things are so critically important, whether it's the child tax credit and giving low-income families the same ability to use the tax code to reinvest in their children and in their families, whether it's nutrition programs that help our elderly. Sometimes, and I've done the Meals on Wheels programs and the nutrition programs for elderly, sometimes those people don't even care about eating. They're just so glad to have somebody to visit with. When you come to the door to deliver their meal, they say, can you just stay a little while? Well, I got some more meals. So, well, just stay and visit for just 10 minutes. There's a lot of components. If you look deeper into these programs that we offer, oftentimes it's not just nourishment of the body. Sometimes it's nourishment of the soul as well. Long-term care insurance. For those of us who are realizing that aging is an issue and it's going to continue to be a bigger issue, whether it's providing health care, whether it's providing home health, whether it's just providing the kind of surroundings and quality of life that you want for your parents and you know that fellow Americans want for their parents. Making sure that we're providing, using the tax code, incentives for long-term care insurance and long-term care accessibility. Programs like TANF. Making sure that as we encourage people to get off of a system of dependency on government for just resources, but getting off of those programs into a world of more self-sufficiency. It doesn't just give them a paycheck. It also gives them the ability to share with their children that I am somebody. I have capabilities, and those capabilities and those talents will grow the more that I invest in myself and I invest in you. I shadowed a young single welfare mom who had 3 kids one day. I got up 5:30 in the morning. She was in one room, 3 kids, her, warming that house on a little bitty stove with a coffee can. It was unbelievable. We got up, we walked the oldest child to the bus stop who went to public kindergarten, and we took the other 2 through subsidized transportation to daycare so she could go and finish getting her education. She'd gotten her GED. She'd gotten her track training. She'd been offered 2 jobs, one at a hospital, one at a nursing home. This woman was on a roll. She was so excited, not just because she was going to be earning a paycheck, but because she felt like she had achieved something. She had self-worth that she could then translate to her children. We're going to make it. We're going to make it because I'm going to work hard. And I looked at her and I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I want to be an LPN. I said, well, why don't you be an RN? I said, for that matter, why don't you be a doctor? And she said, oh my gosh, would that be? I said, that anything is possible. Anything is possible. Think about it that way. Set your goals. And then I thought, we've designed this program, however, so that the minute she gets a job, she loses her transportation benefits. She loses her child care benefits. And she starts out a little over minimum wage. She can't even afford to get she and her kids to where they need to go that day. We've got to think outside the box. Maybe public transportation doesn't work everywhere. I know it doesn't in Arkansas, where the majority of our areas are rural. Looking at programs where we can partner private industry, local businesses, small businesses, and nonprofits to come together and help provide programs, whether it's, we tried to start a program with automobiles that would be donated, making sure that we could have one automobile dealership that would help with the maintenance, and being able to use some of our transition dollars to get these people, because you know what, a mother of 3 doesn't just need a ride to work. At midnight when her kid's temperature is 104, she needs to get to the drugstore and get some Motrin, or she needs to get to the emergency room. So looking at ways where we can empower people, and we can do that. Government can be helpful. We're not saying that it has to do everything, but we are saying that in this great country, in this land of plenty, we can create a government that empowers our families to put the kind of value into them that you and I want. It's not easy, but we can do it.